Hello and welcome to 10forums.com. In this video I'm going to have an introductory look through the new Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer, which is something that appeared and came out at the same time as Windows 10, and I'm going to go through one way you can use the tool, which is to create a clean install set to deploy software onto another computer. With Windows 10, Microsoft introduced the new Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer, which is a tool to deploy and upgrade Windows. This includes creation of provisioning packages, which allow you to make changes to existing deployments and also let you create installation sets to do a whole new deployment. You can capture a provisioning package to include desktop software, and this can be included in your installation. Software that you install this way will remain there after you do a reset, which normally removes desktop software. This method is more for deploying software and doesn't capture user settings, unlike the sysprep process, which you can use to capture settings and software as well. So in this video I'm going to capture some desktop software into a provisioning package. I'm going to use the new WICD tool to create an installation set. I'm going to test that installation and then also test what happens when I try a reset on that computer a bit later. For this video you will need a computer or a virtual machine which you can customize. Now this process shows you how to deploy a whole new clean installation which actually overwrites the entire disk, so don't do it on a computer that you're using for production purposes, and I would highly recommend using a virtual machine. You also need a spare USB drive if you're using physical hardware, or a virtual hard disk if you've got a virtual machine, and all data on that drive will also be overwritten, and you'll need at least 4 GB of space. You'll also need the ISO file containing the Windows 10 installer. So the first thing I'm going to do is to start from a machine which I've got Windows 10 clean installed onto it, and then I'm going to install some software. Note that I'm not using the audit mode which some other installation tools will use, but I do want to capture a clean installation on the machine, so it is quite useful to capture it straight after installation, and you could use audit mode if you want to. Then I'm going to install software including things like Firefox. I'm also going to create a new folder containing a test text file which I want to deploy. And then I'm also going to download a cumulative update. So I'm starting from a clean installation of Windows 10, and I'm going to install some software, and obviously I've speeded this up. So I'm installing Firefox. I'm also going to install 7-zip, and also going to install the VLC video player. And you can see at the end of that process I'll have a couple of icons on the desktop so you can see the software is installed. Then I'm going to create a new folder, and then in that folder I'm going to put a test text file, and the purpose of this is to see if this gets redeployed when I create my new clean install set. So this is something you might use if you had a file that you wanted to put on a machine that wasn't software but was a physical file. The next thing I'm going to do is to install the latest cumulative update for Windows 10. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a folder. Now I've got an attached disk, which could be a virtual disk or a USB drive. In my case it's a virtual disk because I'm using a virtual machine. So I'm going to create a folder to hold the cumulative update. Give it a different name. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go to the Microsoft Update Catalog website and download the latest cumulative update for Windows 10. So you can download this as a separate file, and it's in the right format that I can then install later into the WICD tool, so I can include that update with my installation, so if anyone did have this deployed they wouldn't have to download it separately. So I'm searching for the Microsoft Update Catalog website, and then I already know what I've then got to install an add-in to make it work. Notice I have to use Internet Explorer for this. For some reason the Edge browser doesn't work with this. I know what the number is that I'm looking for because I've made a note previously. I'm using Windows in 32-bit at the moment, so I'm downloading the 32-bit version of that. Now I need to select the folder that's going to hold it, which is my attached virtual disk rather than the machine itself that I'm running. And then I set the download going. Now we've installed the software on the computer that we want to then deploy out, we want to capture it into a provisioning package. Now, for more details on how to do this, you can look at a tutorial on 10forums.com that goes into more detail, and there's also a video to go with that, so I'll put the links to this in the YouTube comments below. The first part of this is to download the Windows Assessment and Deployment Kit. Now, I would recommend installing this on another computer rather than the computer that you're about to deploy from, because otherwise you capture the Windows ADK into the provisioning package, which you probably don't want. So I'll deploy the ADK, install certain parts of it, and then also we need to copy some scan state files into a working folder, which we'll then need to put on a USB drive, which we can attach to the computer we want to copy the software from. So I'm going to open up a browser and I'm going to search for the Windows 10 ADK. Now I'm going to download the ADK setup file, which is a small setup installer, and save that locally on my folder somewhere. Then I'm going to right click, run as administrator, and run the main ADK setup program. We're now asked if we want to install the software now, or if we want to download the whole ADK for installation on a separate computer later. I'm going to install it now. We're also asked what we want to do about privacy, if we want to send data to Microsoft. I don't today. And then after that, we're asked to agree to the license agreement. Clicked on that. Then we have to choose which bits to download, and there's various options, and there are dependencies between them. So if you unclick some, then other things will disappear as well. I want to download these 4 items. I'll click on install. Now I'm going to look at the 10 forums tutorial, which has got a command that I need to use to copy this files for the scan state tool into a particular folder. I think we still need to do this. Certainly we did with the July version of Windows 10, and I believe it might still be necessary now. So I found the tutorial. I'm scrolling down to find the commands that I need. I'm then going to open an elevated command prompt on this computer. And the drive I'm using in this case is drive E, which is it's an attached virtual disk, but it'd be the same if you had a USB drive. So I'm going to create a new folder on drive E, and then copy some files into that from the ADK files that have been installed on this computer. Now I need to go back to the reference machine, which is the machine which has the software which we want to capture. I then need to run the scan state tool on that machine. We will then capture the software into a provisioning package, which will be a file with a .ppkg extension on it. Then again, we're going to copy that onto a drive so that we can copy it onto the machine where we're going to prepare the installation set. So the command to use here is also shown in the tutorial, and I'll put a link to it in the comments. This command is run from the E drive, which is an external disk, and it's going to copy the apps and software on the machine into the C recovery customizations folder. I'm also going to create a log file. I've speeded this up a little bit. Now I'm going to copy the usmt.ppkg file from the C drive of the reference machine onto my external E drive disk, which I'm then going to copy onto the machine where we're going to run the WICD tool and create the deployment. Now we have all the component files that we need. We then go into the Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer and create a new project. We will then use that to create the customization file, add the various components, and then build a clean install set. So this is what the WICD tool looks like. I'm going to create a new Windows image customization rather than a provisioning package, because I want to use the whole image. I'm going to give that a name, and it's based on a Windows image file, so click that. Now I'm going to point it to I've extracted from the ISO the install.wim file. So this is extracted from the thing you can download from Media TechBench, for instance, which is the ISO file. Now I'm going to import the provisioning package which we captured earlier with the scan state tool. So put the folder path in for that. Now it should create the project and allow us to add other customizations. So on the left hand side of the screen you can see the three different types of assets that it can deal with in this tool. The deployment assets are the ones that are installed at the very initial stage. Image time is a bit later. Then runtime settings, you can actually apply those anytime. Now on the right hand side you can see we've got deployment assets selected because we've already done some work. We've already added in the what it calls a reference device set, which is the provisioning package. So we can expand that out, and then it shows reference device data, and then it shows what we've selected. We can also select the same thing on the left hand side, and it shows the name of the file that we're bringing in. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add into here the update package, which is the cumulative update. Now I believe you can actually add several updates if you want to. I've just got one in this case, so I will browse for it. As you can see, I'll give it the name, which is the knowledge base name of it, and then add that as well. So I'm now going to look at the image time settings, and you can see there's an awful lot of these, and I don't pretend to know what all of them mean. But to start with, I'm going to search for OEM and change a couple of settings which are for OEM support. So once I scroll down to that, so I'm going to pretend to be a manufacturer. And then add a couple more settings on there. This is a bit of a mistake. I shouldn't really have entered into this URL field. So I'll type something in, and a bit later I'm going to delete it. Support hours, probably not a very long support time, this test. Now I'm going to put a phone number in. And then the URL actually belongs in the next field, so I'm going to copy it down a minute. I'm now going to set a couple of Internet Explorer settings, so I'm going to change the home page on Internet Explorer. As we add these settings, you'll see on the right hand side all the selected customizations are stacking up, so we can see all the bits we've changed. We can also set the window title in Internet Explorer, something that actually isn't that relevant these days because Internet Explorer doesn't really show its window title. It's something more common in olden days, but I put it there anyway. Now I'm also going to change something in the third group, which is the runtime settings group. The one I'm going to change is called telemetry, and I'm going to dial the lowest value, which is the basic level of telemetry. It's the lowest value I can get on Windows Pro, which is what I've got here. Now I'm going to save the project and actually start to create a set of install files. So I use the create option at the top, and I'm going to go for clean install media. So that should be a set which can install a clean set. I'm going to use a WIM format, and you could create a USB drive. Because I'm using a virtual disk, it's easier for me to create them in a folder. So I set that going and then click build, and then it takes a few minutes to run. I've speeded this up slightly. Right, so that's now finished. So I'm now going to exit this tool, and then I'm going to copy the files that I've created onto a bootable virtual drive or a bootable USB you could use as well. So having created a bootable blank drive to copy onto, I'll just copy the files that the WICD tool created and then just copy them in ordinary copy file explorer. Now I've created my USB or VHD, I'm now going to use it to deploy to a target machine, and to do this I connect the USB and then boot from it. And the big warning here is that this process is completely automated. If it boots from this USB, it will wipe the disk. So don't leave it to boot on the wrong disk, otherwise you might end up wiping your machine. So be very careful with this file that we've created. So in my case I'm using Oracle VirtualBox, and I select disk 2 to boot from, which is my attached bootable installer, and then you see the Windows logo, and from here on it's automated. You see various things pop up. I've also speeded this up quite a lot. So it will then say checking your PC, getting a few things ready. It automatically selects a drive. I think if you had a multi-drive machine, you might have to be a bit careful with this tool because there's some risk it might pick the wrong one, I guess. Then we go into an installing Windows 10 screen. Again, I've speeded this up. It says your PC will restart in a few moments. Now, I'm running this on quite a slow virtual machine, but it still took several minutes to do it to work. So if you get to this point and you're waiting more than a few moments, don't worry. At the end of the installer, it asks what your country and keyboard layout are. You can enter a product key, or you can do it later, which might mean it activates automatically if you've had Windows 10 on the machine before. Do you accept the licensing agreement? And then either use customize or use express settings. Now I believe I ran this without being connected to the network, so it's asking me to create a local account. And then we get into Windows 10, and you can already see that the Firefox and VLC logos are there already. So the next thing I'm going to do is to just see what got deployed as a result of that process. So I had a cumulative update, I added some OEM support info, I changed the Internet Explorer homepage and title, I had a folder with a file in it, I put software on there, which is Firefox. I also changed the privacy setting. So let's see what actually has been deployed. Now the first thing I'm going to look at is to see what updates have been installed. I'm doing this first because if it updates automatically I won't be able to tell quite so easily. So at this point no updates are available. I'm now going to look to see if there's any updates deployed. View the update history, and there's nothing showing there either. However, if I look on uninstall updates, which goes into control panel, you can see that that cumulative update did get installed. Well, Windows thinks it has anyway. So that cumulative update has made it in. Now I'm going to right click on the start button and bring up System and see if we can see the OEM information. So you can see that I've got a manufacturer, I've got a model there, I've got a phone number, I've got my very short support hours, and then I've also got a website link. So if I click on that, it brings up the Edge browser and it goes to the 10forums.com website, which is what I set up. The next thing I'm going to do is to open up Internet Explorer and have a look at the home page that's in there. So bring that up and you can see it's gone straight away to the 10forums.com website. It's also asking me if I want to keep that home page, which i11 seems to be doing at the moment. Now also if I hover over this and bring this up, you can see that it's Internet Explorer provided by David Y Inc. has come up there as well. Now you'll remember that I created a test file and a test folder. Now let's see if that's been deployed. So let's go to the C drive. And you can see that my new folder has appeared and it's got my test text file in there. So my next check is to see if Firefox works, and it's starting as you'd expect. And I'm not going to check all the other bits of software, but I'm fairly confident they will be there as well. Now you might remember that I set the privacy settings for the telemetry, so it should be at the basic level. So let's check that through settings, and you can see it's set to basic. You can also see that I can't change it. It's if I click on it, nothing happens. The next thing I want to do is to test the reset process and see how that reacts on a PC that's been set up in this way. So first thing I'm going to do is to install another desktop application, Adobe Reader, and the point of this is to show that it won't go through when we do the reset. I'm going to delete my test file as well, then I'm going to run the reset using the option to keep all my files. It will come up and tell me that Adobe is going to be removed. Note also that Windows 10 Reset these days doesn't actually require a recovery partition. I've not got anything separate on this machine apart from the clean install that I've put on there. So first I'm going to skim through installing Adobe Reader. Obviously I'll speed it up again. Now I'm going to find that folder and file I've created and delete them. So my new folder, I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to start the reset. So I'm going into settings, then into update, and then into recovery when it comes up. Select the option to reset. Now I'm going to keep my file rather than removing everything, but you notice it is going to remove my apps. So I select that option. Now it does some checking. Now you'll see it lists the apps that are going to be removed. In this case there's only one app. It also says this list will be saved to the desktop after you reset this PC. Now when I tried this, it doesn't actually seem to create a list, as we might notice when we come back later. Then I click on reset and it starts the process. It's basically doing a full Windows installation, so I've speeded this up again. So when the reset completes, we want to then have a look to see which bits of the deployment have survived that reset. So we had a cumulative update, we had some OEM support information, we had an Internet Explorer homepage, I had a test folder and a file, we had some software, and also we had a privacy setting about telemetry. And we come back to a Windows 10 screen. Now you can already see that Firefox and VLC players have survived the reset process, which wouldn't normally happen if we hadn't set up our provisioning package. I'm just going to look at update and see what updates we've got. Now this time when we view the update history, there's still nothing there. When we look at the uninstall, there is an update there, but it's not the cumulative update that we put in our provisioning package, it's a different one. So I'm now going to use the option to check for updates and see which updates it thinks I need to have. So I'm going to click check for updates. Wait a while, again I've speeded this up. And you see that that cumulative update is now showing as missing, and therefore it says it needs to download it. So I'm going to let it update and reboot. When it comes back, it says updates are installed. I click on that, it doesn't seem to work. So I'm now going to go to settings instead to see what updates have been installed. And this time you can see the list of the update history, which includes that cumulative update 3140768. So now let's see what happened to those OEM customizations that I put in. So going to System, and basically see that they're not there anymore. All those things that we had before have now disappeared from that screen. However, we can see that there's still an icon there for Firefox, so let's try that out. And that starts up as you'd expect from Firefox. So the software that we deployed originally has come back after the reset. Now before the reset, you might remember that I deleted the test folder that I'd created. So let's see if that's it. And you see that it has come back after the reset. So what about the change we made to Internet Explorer? So let's bring that up and see if, for instance, the home page is still set. Nope, that looks like MSN. So our nice 10 forums homepage is gone, and it's not now provided by David Y Inc. as well. So now we're going to see what happened to that setting that we changed to change the telemetry. Let's go to privacy, go down to feedback and diagnostics, and you can see that's now at the enhanced level, which is rather more than the basic level that I tried to set. However, that setting was a runtime setting. So this is where the provisioning packages live, and you see there's nothing there at the moment. If I open File Explorer, I go to C Recovery Customizations, which is where those provisioning packages live. You can see it's got the usmt one, which has got all the desktop software in, and ICD customizations. Now because that's runtime, we can try and apply that. So I've double clicked on it, said yes I want to run it, and then it's going to ask me for authorization in a minute. I'm going to say yes to that. Now, and it doesn't really show you anything that says yes I've applied it, you just have to hope it's gone in. So we're now going to go into settings again and then see what happens if we look at that same setting about the privacy. First look at the list of provisioning packages, and you can see that's now there. It shows a bit of detail on it. Then we can go and look in the privacy setting, feedback and diagnostics, and you can see it's now changed to basic. So the conclusions are that the WICD tool can deploy software, and that software will persist when you do a reset, which means that for support purposes it means that software will, if someone has a problem with the PC, then that software should come back again. Now it can deploy runtime settings, but they don't survive a reset, although if someone knew how to apply them manually they could reapply them. It's probably unlikely they'd remember to do that. The install time settings don't survive reset at all. Now there are many other features in this tool that I haven't tried here, and I would also observe it's quite a new tool, so there's a good chance that the functionality will be enhanced in future versions. And that's it. Thank you for watching.